Hello, and in this part 2 video, I'm going to look at the topic, describe a building that you like. Now there is a model answer for this that is in the IELTS Speaking Workbook, and there are 42 part 2 model answers in this book, hundreds of part 3 model answers, and lots of vocabulary exercises for you to complete. I strongly recommend you download this book from the course, and every time you have a few spare minutes, work through one of the topics. It would be impossible for us to create videos for every single topic in the current IELTS speaking test. However, many questions get recycled or they're very similar to other questions. When we produced this IELTS speaking workbook a few years ago, it had describe a building you know. The current topic is describe a building you like. There is a topic in there about a law in your country. In the workbook, there is a topic about a law in your country. So although we might not have a video for every topic, we've got lots of extra things in this workbook, and the part 3 answers are particularly useful as well. So go and download that and make sure you do as much as possible before your IELTS speaking test. The more vocabulary and grammar that you have going into the test, the better chance you have of getting a high IELTS band score. So in this part 2 topic, you should say where it is, what it looks like, what it is used for, and explain why you like or dislike it. I'm pleased you've asked me this question because I'm fascinated by architecture. I particularly love old buildings and think that in the past we used to create much more interesting buildings than we do today. I feel that architecture has taken a step backwards. Profit is the most important thing nowadays, so developers build buildings as quickly and as cheaply as possible, with no care for durability or aesthetics. One of the most iconic buildings in the world for many years has been the Empire State Building in New York. The soaring Art Deco skyscraper was for decades the tallest structure on Earth, and it is featured in countless photographs and films, including, of course, King Kong. It stood as the world's tallest building for more than 40 years, from its completion in 1931 until construction of the World Trade Center's North Tower was completed in 1972. Following the destruction of the World Trade Center in 2001, the Empire State Building once again became the tallest building in New York City. I first saw this building in films and vowed that one day I would visit it. In 1999, I went on a trip to New York with my mum and sister, and one of the highlights of our trip was going to the top of the Empire State Building at night. The view over Manhattan was amazing, and I felt like I was in a film. The whole of the skyline was illuminated. In 2004, I went to New York again, this time with my husband, and we made a point of going to see this building again. As far as I'm aware, the building is used as offices. I'm not entirely sure what businesses there are though. Because it is such an iconic building and has been used in so many photographs, films, etc., it is an extremely popular tourist attraction. I remember on both occasions that I went to see this building, there were long queues. I have to say, though, that it was worth the wait. So let's take a look at some of the language and grammar used in this answer. Now, I have talked about going to visit this building. That is not a requirement. It doesn't mention it in the question. If you have visited it, then talk about it. If you haven't, don't worry. Good way to start any part 2 answer. I'm pleased you've asked me this question because you're getting some present perfect in there, which is a tense that IELTS candidates don't often use. I'm fascinated by. Remember to avoid words like I like, I dislike. I'm fascinated by. Architecture refers to buildings. Here I'm using a basic verb love, but I'm making it more complex. I particularly love. Remember to try to get we used to in there at some point to talk about things in the past. This is a really useful phrase here, and it's very useful for IELTS writing as well. To take a step backwards. And it means when there is no progress in something and actually the thing you are talking about has gone backwards. To take a step backwards. Profit is the money a company makes after all the other costs are removed. So if you sell a product for $1,000 and it costs $800 to make it and market it, the profit is $200. Developers are people who design and build buildings. Durability means able to last for a long time. Durable is an adjective that means can last for a long time. Phones nowadays are not very durable. You drop them on the floor and the screen smashes. So durability, the ability to last a long time. Aesthetics, very difficult word to say and spell. And it means how beautiful a thing is. We have an adjective, aesthetically pleasing. Very good language. If you can remember it and know how to say it, then definitely use it. Aesthetics, the beauty of something. Iconic, very useful adjective, can describe buildings, it can describe people. People who are very, very famous. David Beckham is iconic. Empire State Building is iconic, so it's very famous, and most people have heard of it or know about it. Soaring, so something like in a task 1 academic, if you're talking about numbers that have increased a lot, to soar, it's talking about this very high building. Art Deco is a type of architecture like this that has very strong geometric shapes. So you've got very strong straight lines here, and that's Art Deco. And it was a type of architecture that was very popular in the 1920s and 1930s. A skyscraper is another word for a high-rise building. For decades, use it in IELTS writing as well, and it means for a very long time. To feature in means to appear in, so it has appeared in many photographs and films. It has featured in countless photographs and films. Countless is like too many to count, numerous. Completion, when a building is finished, it is complete, so the noun is completion. When a building is being built, it is being constructed, so the construction of, the building of. And it was completed in 1972. You don't need to remember all these dates. That is way too much to remember. You can say, oh, I'm not entirely sure when it was completed. Following the destruction of, so after the World Trade Center was destroyed, the destruction of. Vowed is quite a strong formal word. To vow, it means to promise, and it's when you say something and you're like, I vow to do this, I vowed that I would visit it. When you get married, you say your marriage vows and you make your promises to your partner. One of the highlights of our trip, so one of the best things about our trip, the whole of the skyline was illuminated. This is the New York skyline. So where the sky meets the land, we call it the skyline. And so everything that you look out and see is the skyline. And it was illuminated. It's lit up. We made a point of going. To make a point of doing something is like to take extra care and make sure that you do that thing. To make a point of doing something. So it's followed by an ing verb. As far as I'm aware is like saying as far as I know. So instead of saying I think, as far as I'm aware, the building is used as offices. So whatever building you're talking about, what is it used for? And make sure that you use passive. I'm not entirely sure what. You will use this, you can use this in every IELTS Part 2 answer. I'm not entirely sure what, instead of saying I don't know. Again, iconic building. Anything that's iconic is very, very famous. It has been used. Again, passive grammar. Fantastic. Queues are what we call them in the UK. In America, they call them lines. When you have to wait to buy something or wait to do something, it's a queue, and the verb is to queue. I have to say, though, another good little filler phrase. I have to say, though, I'm not really keen on that, so you can use it in lots of different other phrases. It was worth the wait. When we use worth, we usually follow it by an ing verb. It was worth doing, it was worth having. But here, I'm following it with the noun. It was worth the wait. Hope you found this useful. Like I said, you don't need to talk about visiting it because that's not part of the question. So if you haven't visited the Empire State Building, don't worry. If you want to talk about this topic, then try and remember a few of the things I've said in here. But there are lots of words that you can use to talk about other buildings. So I'm fascinated by architecture. I'm pleased that you've asked me this question. An iconic building. And it is used for, it has been used for. So lots of language that you can take for your answer. Thanks for watching.